Hello, and welcome back down to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about an easy, simple way that you can make use of right now to give your characters a little bit more diversity and characterization over the course of gameplay, and just keep adding in that level of variety to keep things a bit more interesting and engaging for your players. And that is just doing different accents. It, it's one of those things that presents a certain amount of difficulty at first. It's one of those where if you start thinking about it too much, you're going to get nervous or, oh, crap, that sounds dumb, that's stupid. Why would I ever do that? It's an it's an easy thing to talk yourself out of, to psych yourself out of, and it's one of those things where you've just got to dive in feet first and just jump right into it and get it over with. And it does a couple of very important things beyond, well, up to and including and beyond the idea of giving a bit more character variety and just keeping things more engaging and interesting for your players, and that is it will relax your new players. It's if you're just goofing off and having fun and you're doing these various voices, some ridiculous, some a bit more on the serious side, and you're just going into it, well, that'll serve to make the rest of the table relax and get into things even better. Even if some of them end up groaning and going, "Oh God, why?" It will still be encouraging. It should all be in good fun, but this will be especially helpful if you have any new players at the table too, because if they're just thinking to themselves, "Oh God, I don't know what to do. I've never played this before. What the hell? I just don't know how to play." And you break out just being ridiculous and goofy and doing a different kind of voice or throwing in a different accent or even just changing the intonation and way that you're speaking to your players that will henceforth go about in presenting a different perspective and different outlook that they may have on a particular character that you're portraying at this particular time. Well, that will go ahead and get them relaxed and going into this quite a bit more. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this, like I had done just a moment ago, just changing my tone, the modulation of my voice, and varying my speaking methods kind of change the personality that's being conveyed somewhat. Your posture and body language will also feed into this because it, a lot of what we're saying comes through more in the body language than it is in the words themselves. But, well, since we can't always be reaching behind our backs like we're going to be drawing a dagger or a pistol out to shoot at somebody, there's certain limitations on how much body language we can get into things. But if somebody's leaning very forward very seriously, giving serious and stern contemplation to the matters at hand here, in which the players have just thoroughly disappointed this particular NPC and have caused great aggravations to their business plan as well. All that will just only serve to make this much more interesting and engaging. It puts off that front of a very serious character, especially with that particular tone, lowering the voice and lowering the level of speaking. It almost makes you want to listen in a little bit more closely to catch every word that's being said. It seems a bit more important. And in a serious situation like that, it's massively helpful, even if it is a little bit silly. And I do this a fair bit, and I've been getting more comfortable with it over the years, and it's by no means always easy. And if I'm also honest, it's an easy thing to forget to do as well. One of my own players, who's running a sort of Scottish ish sounding kind of character, the last name Sullivan, he's from the Sullivan clan. He does at times forget to use the particular accent he's given the character, and at this point, we all just kind of hear that in our heads, even if it's not quite what our ears are picking up. So even if he does forget, it's usually not a big deal, and I don't really draw attention to it or try to penalize anybody over breaking character. We're not that serious of a group, and you really can't be. I mean, if that's your thing, fantastic. Enjoy yourselves. But me and my particular group of friends for gaming, we just like to be a little bit more relaxed and have what we consider to be a great deal much more fun by not having to be so serious all the time. And that's the main goal of this particular gaming technique, this particular role playing technique. Um, it's just to relax and have quite a bit more fun. And now, another thing that you can do to help create some different tones and different accents is to start studying other languages. For me, at least when I was taking some college courses, I studied Spanish and French, two Latin based languages, which turn out, because they have Latin roots, have a great deal in common with one another. So it was kind of some of the rules and ideas translated pretty easily between the two, and it made remembering certain things quite a bit easier than, say, if I were to start studying German or Chinese, something that had no relation at all to any of either of those Latin based languages. And while I'm not a fluent speaker, I can speak a little bit. Je parle français très un peu et très mal, très très mal. Uh, yo comprendo español muy pequeño y muy malo. That I'm very bad at it. Clearly, that didn't come out very well or across well at all. I've been told I have a decent French accent, but my knowledge of the vocabulary is sparse, to be honest. But even if you just do that little bit, like if you're running around in a campaign setting, like say you're doing a D20 modern setting, and your characters are running around in 1940s Germany, well, it only makes sense for you to pick up a smattering of German, even if it's just something as simple as Lauf, schnell, du fixst. And again, my accent's terrible, but speaking German right there, it adds something to the characters. I mean, your characters are fighting 1940s German Nazi soldiers, or the Wehrmacht, or if they're attacking a Luftwaffe. Um, Gosh, see, thinking about all these languages has tangled my brain up a bit, but it's the air bases where the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe of 1940s, if the players are attacking these places, it's important to know the terms and maybe even pronounce them a little bit better, and just having a little bit of knowledge of the German language, even if it's just short, quick little phrases like that. It does a great deal to add a bit more depth and believability to the game, and it engages your players a bit more actively, which is always going to add more fun and just make things that much more fantastic. Now, this doesn't mean you have to thoroughly learn every language unless you're inclined to, but even just having a smattering of this knowledge will be a great tool for you and a great deal useful over the course of gameplay. Because even just learning a little bit about the languages, you can put different accents onto how you speak, even if they are totally ridiculous. I mean, who actually speaks like this? No one does. It's impossible. But, still, it's ridiculous and it's fun. And for not that I have that many viewers at this time, if later on somehow I've garnered a few bit more subscribers, if you're watching this and you speak these languages, if they're your first languages, or if you're somebody that's thoroughly immersed yourself in them, please, I'm not trying to be insulting to anyone. It's the last thing I'd want to do. Um, well, except for Nazis. Screw Nazis. But anybody else, this is coming from a place of wanting to just entertain a small group of friends and looking at different ways that you can do that. And just changing the intonation and your vocabulary and throwing in various accents can do a great deal to add a level of depth to your game that just wasn't there before. And it's just an extra neat little tool that you can add into your toolbox, into your kit, and make great use of as over the course of many, many different games and campaigns. And it adds an extra depth of characterization to these NPCs you're playing. And you can describe body language too, overcoming that limitation of not always being able to actively do everything that your characters may be doing. Just describing these extra little things that they might be doing, like say You have a particular NPC, we'll go with that crime boss example, who was leaning forward and speaking very, very low and very seriously to the players. Maybe when he leans back and relaxes a little bit, say he's wearing a particular medallion or some kind of necklace, and he keeps playing with the necklace as he speaks, and his agitation shows up as he begins rubbing the necklace a bit more and a bit more furiously and firmly, or he grips it tightly in his hands. And that does a great deal to convey the mood in a way that has nothing to do with verbalizing the character's state of mind, but you show it subtly just by gripping that little bit, narrowing the eyes, and just clenching the jaw just a little bit. And it really starts to convey that anger and frustration that's just barely being restrained. And again, it's ridiculous, it's silly, I know I look goofy as hell, but once you stop overthinking it and being self-conscious and just dive right into it, again, you add that depth, and you also relax your players, especially new players, and really open the door for everybody to just dive in and have fun with the stories that you've crafted for them. Now, today's episode is definitely a bit shorter. I apologize for that, but I'm working on a few other projects here. I promise I will get them up at some point. I try to stack too much onto myself. Also, I'm looking to go back to school myself, so my upload times may be stretched out a bit further and farther in between the once a week that I typically do, but I'm hoping to try to maintain some sort of a schedule, but we'll just have to see how that goes. Anyways, if you enjoyed that video, please give me a like, hit the subscribe button there, and definitely click that bell icon so that way you get notified the next time I upload to this channel, and you can see all the content that's coming down out and through the pipe for you folks. Once again, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. You all have yourselves a good night.